Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. For those of you that are watching us on the Twitter page, I tell you guys all the time, hit that follow button and follow the channel. And then, go ahead and dive in, or swing over to YouTube and hit that subscription button and like the show while you're there. And then whenever we go live, it'll give you a notice. And that way you'll be able to jump into the show and get some information and hopefully conquer a whole lot more stuff in a shorter period of time. Michael says penny stocks. Penny stocks aren't really a penny anymore. Penny stocks used to be stocks that were like 75 cents, a dollar, or whatever, something like that. Now, penny stocks are stocks that are less than $5. Penny stocks are stocks that are less than $10. So Orchid Island could be considered a penny stock technically with the inflation of penny stocks. But yes, just like Michael said, penny stocks. That's the idea. Buy lower values more often, and when the increase happens, you experience a larger increase. That's the best way to go. Now, today we're supposed to be talking about um, if you recognize yourself in a situation where you're being emasculated. So we're going to be talking about money, uh, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Today, Thursday, is going to be the first day that we're going to be talking about self improvement. So we're going to tiptoe into a more volatile conversation. And ladies, feel free to dive in and put your opinions in there. Um, you don't have to agree with what I have to say, but just pay attention that this is 70% male podcast for the male's perspective. So if you hear information that you don't like, if the shoe fit, wears it kind of situation, just really evaluate how you treat people and try to make some changes. Because this show isn't about bashing women for doing bad things. It's about recognizing as men our first person accountability to put a stop to the behavior that we deem unacceptable. And the first step is we're going to change the way we behave, and then we're going to disallow certain behavior patterns to be performed in our presence, which prevents us from negatively experiencing the outcome of that particular behavior. Now, what that does is by us removing ourselves from encounters that we disapprove of, we are now ostracizing, shunning, and doing away with the negative behavior that a lot of men used to simp over just in order to grab the girl, which puts those women who performs that type of behavior on a regular basis into a position where they will not be able to find a guy that will take them anywhere, buy anything for them, do anything for them, because at the end of the day, dudes are not trying to hear that shit no more. They're like, nope. Soon as she starts with the negativity, they give her the L and they walk out. And why are they not talking to me past the first sentence? Why are they not following up? Why are they not putting up a better chase? Why are they not, whatever? And the reason is because we tired of the bullshit. Because even without going down the whole rabbit hole of online dating, we know that online dating platforms drag you in for your money. So that's what that look exactly, Michael. Let her get her own money. Um, because she's dating you for your money, no matter what kind of girl she is. She wants a better standard of living than what she's got. And if you're going to provide that for her, some women will reciprocate by being the best girlfriend and wife that a man could ever have. And then other women just enjoy the fact that they don't have to try as hard in their life. Now, the difference between the two women isn't that one is going to be cheaper than the other. The difference between the two women is that one woman will make life easier for you, and the other woman is a financial liability. So the woman that's an asset is the one that we're after. The woman that's a liability is the one we're trying to do away with. Both of them are going to cost us. It is what it is. So we're not sitting over here like I know some women are going to jump on the show. Oh, you just doing that because you broke. Not that broke, bro. Because you put in more hours at work in a, in a day than I put in a week, and I make more money than you. So ain't that broke? Which is the reason why we're talking about investing. Any female calling me broke, ask yourself how much money you got in your portfolio. And your portfolio is not your savings account. Your portfolio is your stock options, Bitcoin, and other investment opportunities. And if you think I don't even have a savings account, then damn, You got less than the men on this channel right now. He says she is a liability or an asset, and that's what we're going to be determining right now. Um, but this isn't to attack women. This is for men to identify when they are involved with the wrong type of woman. Now, we've covered some toxicity in relationships over a year ago, and we're not going to dive back into that toxicity, but we are going to cover a couple things. For example, that vague text message, that last minute canceled plan, that feeling that your options are always being minimized or your opinions are always being minimized. That's going to be uh, the first areas that we're going to be addressing here, because it can feel like you're trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing, right? Now, this is going to leave you guys feeling insecure, powerless, dismissed, and in a state of constant pursuit, wondering, what did you do wrong? Now, fellas, as you come through this, I want y'all to make sure that y'all take the time to utilize that reaction buttons. Hit those, smiley faces, bitches love smiley faces. Knock out some of those 100s, those hearts. Show some reactions to the show as if I'm hitting on topics that are hitting close to home. Michael says, loan her $100. If she pays you back, she's an asset. I disagree, Michael. If you loan her, if you give her 100, because see, if you loan her $100, she knows that you expect her to pay it back. You just hand her 100, just give it to her. Hand her $100. No instructions, no expectations, no strings attached. And if she brings you back 120 bucks, she's an asset. Plain and simple. If you put cash in her hand, and that's way different from if you put cash in her hand and then she buys you something that you need with your money. No. I mean, yes, we could use that kind of woman. We don't have that kind of woman in modern Western culture. But if you put money into her hand and she comes back later, whether it's later this week or later this month, and she puts more money in your hand than what you put into her hand, that is an effective return. Because if you give a woman $100, more often than not, she's either going to say, "Is that it?" or she's going to take it and spend it. Doesn't matter if she spends some of it on you or all of it on herself. She's typically going to take it and spend it. Now, the problem with this is not that she's ungrateful or that she's a gold digger or anything to that effect. Every episode of this show, we have been talking about saving, investing, and not unnecessarily wasting discretionary capital so that even in a secured relationship, we can work towards a stable future. Giving money to someone, whether it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend, who will waste it instead of invested, where the principal is gone, and likely on your next paycheck they're there with their handout waiting on another handout, right? Or they're just hoping that you just so happen to offer to them again as a gift. You're still in a position where your partner is a liability because they're not making money make money for you. You are making money make money for them. You are generating revenue for them, but they are not generating revenue for you. Now, understandably, traditionally, men are supposed to be the head of households. They're supposed to be the financial breadwinners. This is masculine expectations. If a man doesn't do this, he's not a valued man. We just talked about this on Sunday with two women talking. I think we had three women on the show that described the exact same kind of man, where the woman was in the masculine role as the primary breadwinner. The guy was at the house doing little to nothing. And each one of those women were unsatisfied that the man was not contributing more to the relationship than the woman was. But that is what men do when the men are the head of the household. And in each scenario, the option was, oh, get rid of the guy's a loser. But if you switch roles and the man is working all day long, bringing back the money, paying all the bills, and the woman is at the house doing little to nothing, that is what you consider a good relationship, because people are going to say, well, she's not cheating on you while she's at the house doing absolutely nothing, but she's not contributing to your success either, which is why we talked about last week settling for an okay relationship. We want, no matter whether you're a man or a woman, we want to be in a relationship where our partner is as driven to improve our couple lifestyle as we are in the same relationship driven to improve our standard of living couple. That should be the primary group goal, is to come together and improve everything. Michael said, if I had $100, then I don't expect to see it again. So he give her he give a chick $100, that money gone. Ah, I don't give females money no more. I stopped doing that. I stopped doing that a long time ago. So I have limited my ability to affiliate with females in a relationship to the magnitude of, if I know you need it done, then I might buy it. Like, for example, you've got a phone bill coming up. I might cover the phone bill because I know where your paycheck went. I might incorporate your phone into my phone plan. If I know that your car insurance is due, then I might cover your car insurance because I know where your paycheck went. So, I might incorporate your car into my car insurance, stuff to that effect. But will I just hand you spending money for the sake of handing you spending money? Fuck no. Will I hand you one of my credit cards for you to just charge it to the game on Amazon? Hell no. Do I have an Alexa in my house that is attached to a credit card service where you could say, hey, Alexa, buy X, Y, and Z? If my girlfriend or my personal assistant is not named Alexa, ain't nobody buying shit. And Alexa better come and talk to me. Purchase gets made. Like I said, that's why it's a loan. It ain't a loan. It ain't a loan. Friends and money don't mix. You're right about that. That is totally true. Relationships and finances don't always mix when you don't have a partner that's willing to grow with you in a positive fashion. You will find yourself in a situation where you will be investing in and you got to understand, paying for the standard of living is not investing in the relationship, but when you're cohabitating together, people consider that a investment in the relationship, because you got to have a roof over your head in order for you to stay together. That's what people believe. But you could be homeless and live in the same cardboard box or sleep under the same overpass sharing the same cardboard box as a blanket. So you technically don't need to pay for the standard of living to support the relationship. But supporting the relationship is going to be maintaining the stressors in the household and the stressors outside of the household. Now, when it comes down to the money aspect of it, stuff costs money. She's got to eat. He's got to eat. She needs transportation to work. He needs transportation to work. She needs a phone for communication. He needs a phone for communication. They need a hopefully common place to dwell when they're not out trying to grind and get that money. So that place needs to be organized to some degree. They should have a fair place to put both of their vehicles so that they're not struggling. How do we get out when it's time to leave to go to work? You're blocking my car and stuff to that effect. And then if there's children involved, dividing up the routines of who's going to have the children and who's going to do what for the children, and what times and what areas and all this other stuff. So running through the full ticket of supporting the relationship when it comes down to whether or not you're going to pay for a babysitter, whether or not you're paying for little league, whether or not you're paying for after school activities, whether or not you're investing in school so that the child can go on a field trip or whatever the case may be. The money in a relationship is supposed to be there from both sides. But when it comes down to your homies, though, oh yeah, you should keep that strictly contractual. If your homeboy is gonna do something for you that actually you benefit from, then you put money in his hand to benefit him. That way, you guys are always square up. You can make sacrifices for friends that make sacrifices for you, but nobody's supposed to be keeping score. So you might have three sacrifices to their one sacrifice, or you might have 20 sacrifices to their eight sacrifices. But the sacrifices that they make for you might be two times more costly to them than the sacrifices you make for them. So you're not trying to keep score with that, but you are trying to make sure that when the chips are down and shit gets hard, that that lifeline call is never going to be ignored from either side. And then you just have to mitigate exactly how often can your homie call you about some bullshit and be like, hey, I need, and then you've got to come out of your reservoir and start trying to cover their ends. You need to be able to show them how to save and invest so that they've got extra capital if they need to liquidate some of their assets so that they can put those assets up and cover their own problems. That's fine, because at least if they say, well, my stocks don't clear the bank for 2 weeks and I need this money tomorrow, and you got it, then you can cover them and then they'll cover you in a couple of weeks and you get your money back. You're good. You know what I'm saying? And then if you send them and you got to pay like Venmo or something like that, and you got to pay that instant transfer fee, that comes out of whatever they ask for. So they're getting less than what, or they'll give you you'll give them the full dollar amount plus the interest, then they'll pay you back the amount of money you gave them plus a service fee where you're still getting reimbursed, where you're not at a loss. Either way it goes, y'all got to find a way to look out for one another. But these relationships are tough. And I'm about to get into some of the reasons why they're tough. Michael says, I always keep them separate. Best way to leave friends, or they never were your friends and just using you for what you have. Since they have nothing and they're broke, they will throw you under the bus. Oh, yeah. If you've got the wrong friends, they will drag you down financially. If you're in the wrong relationship, they will drag you down financially. Doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. Your partner can drag you down financially. So you have to pay attention to what kind of relationship you're in so that you can understand if your partner is a liability or an asset. The full totality of the reason why those three guys were kick them to the curb kind of relationships was because those guys were literally not trying to get themselves a job. They were hanging out at the house. There were no children there to watch. So it's not like they had something to do. They were just enjoying the fact that they did not have to work for whatever reason. There was one guy, though, that I remember correctly that was trying to find a job, but he was struggling in doing it because his degree didn't match um, the workforce that he was going into, and he was trying different trades. There was another guy that got a degree and he just said, fuck it. Tried to be a musician, life didn't work, and now he's just chilling. That's not the guy I'm talking about. The other guy that was really trying to find ways to make money, but he was having difficulty doing it because y'all got to understand, affirmative action is still in effect for women. Affirmative action is not effect for men. So minority men are not going to get that push into an employment, and minority men are not going to get that push to a promotion. A man is going to get based off of his merit, which could take 5 to 7 years, 10 years to get somewhere that a woman can get to in 6 months because they need a female in that position. They need a limited number of females on the payroll. And as long as that law still is in effect, ironically, ladies, y'all can become alpha boss ladies a whole lot faster than a man can be financially successful. So that means, ladies, y'all have to be more responsible about the men that you choose, because you can be your own leader, but you want a partner that is not going to fuck the money up. So you need to not be dating guys that are wasteful. You need to not be dating guys that's trying to impress a stranger. Because think about this. If he didn't know who the fuck you was and he was willing to throw hundreds of dollars at you, and that's his pattern of behavior, because a man goes on 40 to 70 first dates a year and he's throwing a bunch of money at a bunch of strangers, impressing a bunch of strangers, what makes you think that that's not going to be his behavior in a relationship? Being willing to throw money away at a whim, whether it's with other people, strangers, whether it's guys at the bar, whether it's other girls, doesn't matter. If he's just wasteful spending because he no longer has to spend money to get a girl, he might be wasting spending on souping up his car, stereo equipment, video games, hunting stuff, ammunition, whatever, because he's already got the girl. If he's wasteful spending with you on the first date, then he's going to be wasteful spending in a relationship, because women will say that a man that sleeps around will always sleep around, once a cheater or always a cheater. But If he's wasteful when you met him, he's going to be wasteful in a relationship. The same way, if he's willing to sleep with your friend the night that he met you, he's willing to sleep with your friend the night that he married you. So think about the decisions that y'all making, because y'all are in a shitty relationship because you chose. He spent his whole life trying to convince you to stay. You chose to stay. So that means that you chose the wrong person. He don't know what you got to bring to the table, because women are not required to show their skill set at the interview. Men are peacocking and putting on the front to show women that, hey, I'm a guy that you would want to hang around, right? I got stuff. I'm willing to spend money. But at the end of the day, the man does not know what kind of woman he has until like 6 months, 9 months, a year into the relationship, when she starts making unrealistic demands that he can't keep up with. And then he's like, what the fuck did I get myself into? But now he's in a position where he's already invested for almost a year. And now he's trying to subjugate the losses and make peace in a relationship that he's drawn himself into, which isn't always good. So that's why I tell you, ladies, I'm like, y'all need to figure out what y'all getting yourselves into. Michael said, oh, I can't even see the comments. Look at that. There it is. He said, date short guys. That's why I couldn't see the comment. It was too short. He said, date short guys who can stand on their wallet and are quiet. Okay. +3 for the short guys. Date short guys who can stand on their wallet and they're quiet. That's actually pretty impressive. Now let's go into this emasculation tactic that we're going to be talking about, because when you guys find yourself putting in most of the effort without it being matched by your partner, it takes a while before you start seeing the red flags, because you might even find yourself walking on eggshells, hesitating to express yourself honestly for fear of losing the girl, because there's a lot of times there's things that you wish you could tell your partner, but you don't want to upset her, you don't want to frustrate her, you don't want to scare her off. So you will struggle with these things by yourself when you're in a partnership, instead of having your partner bring you the assist, instead of having the cavalry bring you the support. You're trying to lone wolf this situation. Not everybody can John Wick their life. Okay. Not everybody can John Q their life. Okay. So you have to understand that if you're in a committed relationship, your partner is supposed to be the first person you go to when the shit hits the fan. You're supposed to go to your partner before you go to your friends, before you go to your family members. You should be able to go to your family members before you go to your friends. You're supposed to start with your inner circle first. And your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend is supposed to be the inner circle. And then your family is the second ring. And then your friends are the third ring. When your friends are so close to you that they're like family, they're in the second ring. See what I'm saying? And your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, that's going to be so close to you that they become part of your family, which is why they're first ring, because you're creating the first generation of your family, which means that you and that person will create children, where the children will be the nuclear family now. See what I'm saying? So now you have your kids come to you before they go to grandma and grandpa. And before you have them go to grandma and grandpa, you will go to grandma and grandpa, or you will go to your friends if grandma and grandpa can't do it. You will go to aunts and uncles and stuff like that. So it's supposed to be outward. You understand? So if you think about this, if you're afraid to talk to your partner about something because your partner might treat you like shit when you say it, you kind of got a problem. Um, Michael said, family last. They love to use your problems against you. Now, here's the thing, though, and I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that, that your family will use your problems against you. In your society, you are supposed to be closer to your family than people that are not in your family. Your friends that become as close to you as brothers and sisters are supposed to be part of your family. So if mom and dad would talk to you like shit, you would go to your sisters and brothers, which would lead you to your homeboys and your homegirls because they're like brothers and sisters to you. But that still means that you start with your inner circle. If mom and dad ain't going to tell you no, if they're not going to talk down to you at the next family reunion about it, you go to mom and dad first. If you've got mom and dad that are being very strict and they're not going to let you live this down, you might want to skip them and go to your brothers and sisters. But when you go to your brothers and sisters, don't tell mom and dad. You just like go to your homeboy, your homegirl, and don't tell your family members. You start in your inner circle reaching out for help before you start doing it with the homie at the bar, your work friend, some random person at a bus stop, this person that you just met 3 weeks ago. You're supposed to be starting with people that you've known your whole life, then the people that you've known for the last 20 years, the people you've been closely involved with for the past 10 years, and working your way outward when it comes down to digging yourself out of a hole if you end up in a hole. Michael says, chat with your other first, then a good friend. Okay. Oh, chat with your brother first and then a good friend. Uh, you can count all of your friends on one hand, but true, maybe one true friend. And you know what? The five people that you spend the most time with is the average of what kind of person you're going to be. So if you have five good friends that you can count on your one hand, and your right hand should be your best hand, and the five friends, you need to be able to value how gauge how valuable these people are, because if they are failures, you're a failure. If you're the most successful person in your group, you need more successful people in your group. Not saying that you need to ditch your five friends. You just need to go get you five better friends to balance things out. So now you have 10 friends where the five less successful friends you shouldn't be tapping into as often. That would help you maintain more success. He said that true friend will spend jail time with you. Ah, now that's a plus and a minus, because you have a true friend that might sit in jail with you, but you also have a true friend that might bail you out of jail and would have been the friend that told you don't do that before you did it, which landed you in jail, and he still came and got you after you didn't listen. You have the better friend is the friend that's trying to keep you out of trouble than the friend that is willing to get in trouble with you. So if the value of who you are is based on three friends that are willing to go to jail for you and two friends that are willing to keep you out of jail, you need to find two more friends that'll keep you out of jail, so that when the three friends that are willing to ride or die for you and get in jail, you got three phone calls that you can make, five phone calls that you can make where they can come and get you out. Because if you're sitting in jail with your homie, who's getting you out? Who's representing you? What character witnesses do you have if all of your friends are convicts or ex-cons? So it is true to the magnitude that you want a friend that's willing to regulate. So I'm not saying that the friends that's willing to get in trouble with you are not valuable friends. You need a friend that's willing to punch somebody in the face. You need a friend that's willing to pull the trigger. You need a friend that's willing to dig a hole. You need a friend that's willing to clean up and cover up a crime scene. You need a friend that's willing to hide the body. You need a friend that's willing to hide you. But you need friends that have no morals. But you also need friends that have morals. You need friends that are going to be able to tell you this is not a good idea. You need friends that are going to be able to tell you this is not going to end well. You need friends that are going to be able to come get you when the shit falls apart. So while you got friends like Queen Latifah and Set It Off, where everybody went out there and was robbing banks together, you still need a few friends that's willing to show up at 4 in the morning and get your ass out when y'all get caught. Because how many people in Set It Off survive? What, Jada Pinkett by herself? Because the one true friend It said you don't need to be here for this part. Even when they all went down together, the one true friend told Jada Pinkett, you don't need to be here for this part. So one person survived out of all of them because the true friend that said, don't be here when it gets serious. That's the one that tells you it's not going to be in your favor if you stay. See what I'm saying? You better not be hiding bodies on me. Hey, Diddy. But that's life. That's life. You need the morally ambiguous friends that can balance out the spread, but you need the ones that are righteous to the cause of keeping you out of trouble. Because if you have some that are willing to improvise when times get tough, then you have alternatives where it's not hopeless. But if you have those that are willing to steer you away from trouble, you should have more friends that lead you in the direction of self improvement so that you don't have to deal with catastrophic failure. You don't have to improvise with extreme failure. You don't have to deal with uh, 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 unexpected turn of events. The people who lie, cheat, and steal do that because they're too fucking poor to pay the cost to be the boss. So wouldn't it make more sense for you to have more friends to show you how to buy the company instead of arguing with the cashier? It makes more sense for you to have more friends that shows you how to buy the hotel and fire the person at the front desk talking shit instead of you getting arrested for threatening the life of the person at the front desk. You need more friends, if not family members, who are going to show you how to get through the system. Because, say, for example, you go into a building, somebody wants to come and talk shit to you about what you can't do. You will curse them out about what you know you can do. A lot of times, you got a smart friend that'll tap you on the shoulder and say no before you even start, and let that person know that their employment fringes on the customer satisfaction. So if we walk out the building unsatisfied, somebody who has control over your schedule will have a long talk with you about our lack of satisfaction, which still does the exact same impact as the person that would have cursed everybody out and got trespassed off the property and potentially went to jail. But the difference is when you return to the building, now you're returning to the building where people are kissing ass because they do not want the negative fallout from the calm person who said this will not end well for the employee if the customers are not satisfied when they leave the building. Because especially in America, most things run around lawsuits. You can punch somebody in the face and they can sue you for that. But they can compromise your customer service in certain situations, so you can sue them for that. All you have to do is be 100% in the right. And when we have this First Amendment auditor people running around with video cameras recording the fuck out of folks, if y'all ain't got body cams all over the place just to keep y'all safe, I don't know what's wrong with you. But if you got it on camera that they act the ass on you, all you got to do is take that negative behavior and post it up online. You ain't got to argue with that person. They're going to get fired because their boss is going to see that ridiculous behavior and see the response from society. And then they're going to be like, oh no, you can't be here like that. And that's a wrap. Because if you truly did nothing wrong, they should not have treated you that way. But the calm, good friend that will show you the right way to get out of a bad situation, you need more of those. You need 3 out of 5 of those. And then the two that's willing to set a car on fire, you can benefit from them as well. Michael said a lawsuit is filed every 2 minutes in America. So that means that this show been on for almost 50 minutes. There's been almost 25 lawsuits filed since this show started. Now, with that understanding, if you don't got 2 or 3 friends that know some law, you're fucking up. You need 2 friends that know money and law, and 1 friend that know more law than money, and then 2 friends that's willing to break the law for you. Now you got your balanced rotation. And out of them two friends, ain't nobody snitching on you. Now you got a good setup. Now, back to the main topic. There's interactions that regularly leave you feeling small, uncertain, or insecure, and a develops a genuine loss of confidence. And this is what men are experiencing in relationships right now, trying to get out there and date the wrong person. But what if these aren't just random frustrating moments that men are experiencing right now? What if there's a pattern here, a kind of subconscious filter that ladies are using to figure out what you're really made of? Not too many men know about this. Make sure y'all like and subscribe and really abuse that reaction button as we go through this. A lot of men stumble at these hurdles without even knowing the race has started. You think you're just having a normal chat about weekend plans, but on some level, she's seeing how you handle pressure. You think you're being sweet by agreeing with everything she says, but she might read that as weakness. You know those girls that come and tell you, "Oh, I just want to see what you're like when you're mad." No, you don't. No, you don't. If you want to know what I'm like when I'm mad, go watch some of the worst Samuel L. Jackson movies that he's ever made. That's what I'm like when I'm mad. You just watch that on TV. You don't want to experience me being mad at you. No, you don't. But that's what they do. They test you. You assume that constantly reassuring her proves that you care, but her instincts might be telling her you're not confident enough to stand on your own 2 feet. And that's deep. And in tonight's show, I'm going to be pulling back the curtain on these hidden dynamics in dating. And I'll be giving you a new playbook, not to manipulate or play games, but to understand that subtext so that you can reclaim your confidence. We see hello, mixed martial autistic. Good to see you. Remember, we are also a heavily interactive podcast for those of you that are coming in appropriately. Um, Make sure you like and subscribe. You can comment. You will see your comments up above, even if you are watching us from Twitch or Twitter. I just ask that you guys keep it reasonably appropriate. Good to be seen. Thanks. Oh, it is good to see you. Did you fall into the podcast because I popped up on your For You page, or did you actually see the title and say, let me go see what this show's about? Because I like to do some digging and really see like what drives people to this channel some of the times, especially the ones that come in. I scrolled on to you in the shorts. Yeah, it's going down right now. The shorts is about to start. We're gonna have a lot of people scrolling in here from the shorts right now, especially since YouTube has put vertical mode in the shorts section. So as long as I'm using a 9:16 format, I'm more likely to be seen in a shorts reel, especially when they run out of shorts to play. it's it's always a happy accident. A mix. We actually talk about business and finance as well. Today we're going to be talking about how to tell when you're not being treated the way you wanted to be treated. We're live 7 nights a week, and we don't let the sun rise without going live. So make sure that you like and subscribe because you will enjoy what we've got coming up next. And we're going to be talking to you about how to make money for you throughout the week as well. So you'll be able to enjoy every night, not having to waste your time scrolling. You can just show up at one spot as soon as it tells you. Oh, look, Michael be enjoying the content even when he's sleeping. He play it in the background. It's his bedtime because we just what 300 something dollars that we made on Monday and Tuesday, and we're talking about getting X dividends off of Saturday, and then we're selling some stocks on Monday of next week, and we're looking at trying to draw back over $800 for this month off of a $10,000 investment dividend rotation strategy. We're going to be talking about um, profiting off of loans on Monday. We're going to be talking about a different platform, a different portfolio to invest in that is all cash stocks, dividend paying stocks. So we talk about a lot of things. I mean, we do talk about crypto every now and again, but crypto is a very volatile scenario and it is not for beginners. The investment strategies that I talk about is for beginners, is for beginner, novice, intermediate individuals, people who kind of know what they're doing, or people who don't really know what they're doing, but they kind of know how to follow instructions and they can get in there and make them some money. And, far more than what they would make from the bank because the bank would give you like at best like 5% interest on $500 worth of money, 0.064% on all the rest of the money. And I've been talking about on the low end, 15 to 18% interest on stock trades for annual percentage yields. And I just found today that we're going to be talking about on Tuesday the availability of upward of 27% consistently on some stock trades, which will average out your portfolio depending on how much you buy versus the other stock, closer to between 18 and 25% all the way around, which is way higher than what you would get from a bank or a CD or a treasury bond. And then, in addition to that, if you're following through the dividend rotation strategy, you can potentially double your investment depending on how much of the money you're using in a dividend rotation strategy. Because just like we showed, you could get 35% off of quarterly trades with August's rollout that we just did the show on Tuesday about. You could also see yourself getting um, another 35 or 40% off of September's rollout every quarter, and then another 35 or 40% out of October's quarterly rollout, which means that you're still going to be making almost 100 to 150% return off of the same stack of cash every year, which allows you to increase your investment a whole lot faster. And then if you're adding to the principal with any money that you're not wasting on life choices, it puts you in a position where you're making a substantial quantity. You could put yourself in a millionaire position in 10 years. If you got a 20-year plan, you could see yourself being a multimillionaire and living off of those dividends, being able to quit your job and not having to work for somebody else. So you should always like and subscribe and follow this channel because once you piece this puzzle together, you will find a way to say, I don't even have to go to work in the morning. I can just wake up whenever I feel like it, make some trades, go back to bed, or go live life, travel the world, enjoy life with the true friends that are willing to grow with me financially, start up a business, start making profits off of the business, go into real estate, stuff to that effect, mitigate taxation by investing in real estate, stuff to that effect. Michael said, I'll keep my side hustle, estate sales. Stocks both take some work. They do. They do. Stocks take work. And estate sales take work as well. But the difference between stocks and estate sales is that you can put a large enough quantity of your capital into cash dividends, leave them there, and don't do anything else and just have that money direct deposited into your bank account every month. Whereas with estate sales, you will have to keep buying and you will have to keep selling in order to keep getting money. He said, buy an ARM machine. If you can find a way to automate the system, that'll be the best thing for you. That'll be the best thing for you. But until you automate the system, this is what has to happen. So stocks are very complex, and that's the reason why I talk to you guys about it on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and different countries that you can invest in. Like we talked about Puerto Rico this past week, but you guys just have to understand that you gotta do something because what you're doing right now today might be making you money today, but you're gonna reach a time, you're gonna reach an age where you're not gonna want to have to put that effort in to survive financially. You want to be able to have what is truly considered passive income, and passive income is income that pays you without you having to do anything to get it. Residual income is income that comes to you after you put a lot of effort into it to get it set up. They're phrases that are intertwined when it comes to uh, continuous capital coming in the future. But the more effort you have to put into establishing the residual payments, the more it is a residual and less a passive. But if you just throw cash into a stock option, that's like the closest thing to passive. The true passive is inheriting a large stack of cash that is already automatically scheduled to go into investment opportunities that are going to move themselves around because of an agent. That is the true definition of passive income, where the most effort you have to do is call the person that handles your money and tell them to purchase things that you want or give you cash for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. That's like the truest level of passive. But we're going to try to get you as close to that as possible. Now, back to today's main topic. Special shout out to Ruderus. Yeah, he kicked my behind with them three queens on that board. Now we're moving. Now we have four rooks. No, we have uh four knights, no rooks. So it's gonna be a weird game. It's gonna be a weird game. Next time we're gonna have four bishops. We're gonna see how well that works. I know how a total pawn game would work. It'd be like having all like playing checkers on a chessboard. uh, Michael says both takes work. Passive is when my index finger hurts versus active, my bones hurt. Yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that. Yep, nights all around. Now, let's go ahead and dive into this topic because the first thing to get is that these so called tests that I was just mentioning a little bit ago aren't usually a conscious strategy. So when this stuff happens to you, she's not sitting in her room with a checklist, laughing like a James Bond villain, like I'm gonna get him with this. That's not what really happens. For many women, this is an intuitive process driven by an instinct to find out who you truly are, because women don't ask men who they are; they try to sleuth the information out. By the end of this, you guys will know how to spot these moments and respond in a way that actually builds attraction instead of chipping away at it. So while ladies thought that I was going to sit here and just start talking shit all day, no, I'm not. We're actually going to be telling guys ways that we can navigate through this so that instead of being misperceived as worthless, we will be perceived as valuable. And typically, something that a woman values, she cherishes, and something that she cherishes, she puts more effort into. Usually. Now, before we get into specific situations, you have to understand the why behind them. If you see this as some malicious game she's playing to mess with your head, you've already lost because that's not what it's about. You'll end up bitter and reactive, which is the exact opposite of the calm, centered vibe you want to have. And a more helpful way to look at it is as a vetting process. On some level, she's trying to answer a simple question: are you the real deal? Now, I want to talk about it like this because you guys have to understand that there's certain scenarios, such as when you say something admirable to her and she deflects that with, I bet you say that to all the girls. Now, I've told you that in the past, that if I give her one excuse for that one time to pull that off in the very beginning of the relationship, that I remind her that one, nobody has ever uniquely done each relationship differently. There is always going to be something that is carried over from the last relationship. It is a pattern of behavior that a person does when they are interested in somebody else. So there might be a certain dialogue that you use, there might be a certain behavior pattern that you use, there might be a certain level of effort or certain level of finances that you put into gift giving and event creating, but it will always be the same thing. The older you get, the less likely that what you say and what you do have never been said and never been done for somebody else. So after I've explained that, I would remind her that you should never compare me to the past, and you should never compare yourself to my past, because that will keep you in my past, which lets her know that I'm not putting up with that shit. That if you continue to compare me to other guys, or compare yourself to girls that I used to talk to, which I'm clearly not going to be talking about in my relationships, then that level of insecurity from her will be the type of turnoff that I am not going to compete with, which puts that um whole like pre-jealousy behavior aside. Now, not saying that jealousy isn't okay. Knowing that she is insecure of losing you gives you the understanding that she does not want to lose you. However, you jumping through hoops to prove to her that you're not going anywhere is an unhealthy response to that. Being able to reassure her that as long as she follows your non-negotiable expectations for behavior, that she does not have anything to worry about, that at the very least you will give her advance notice of a probationary period of recovery before the consideration of terminating the relationship, which allows her to know that if he ain't talked about breaking up recently, there's no concern about breaking up, which means there's nothing to be insecure about. If I ain't talked about firing you recently, shouldn't be concerned about losing your job. I mean, unless you're fucking up at your job, then of course you probably would need to tighten up before I have that conversation with you, which likely this is another discussion I would have with her. This keeps the dynamic in the control of the masculine mindset. Now, this is going to bring us to the concept that you hear a lot about in dating advice, the masculine frame. Think of your frame as your personal reality. It's your self worth, your core values, and your mission in life, and your emotional stability. A man with strong frames is like a mountain, grounded, stable, and not easily shaken. He knows who he is and where he's going. A man with a weak frame is more like a leaf in the wind, easily blown around by her mood, her actions, and what other people think about him, her, and how they interact together. He ends up needing her validation to feel good about himself, and might even alter his dress, grooming, or interest to fit what he believes that she prefers, abandoning what matters to him. Now, I've told you guys on the show 2 weeks ago to not do that. Ladies and guys, I told y'all to not do that. Do not abandon your core self to satisfy the other person in your relationship. You are supposed to adapt to their expectations, but you are not so because you signed up for those expectations. But you are not supposed to surrender the core you, whatever that is, for the sake of the relationship. If you understand going into this relationship that your core beliefs will have to be modified, that is not a relationship you want to go into. One popular theory drawn from evolutionary psychology suggests that while we live in a modern world, some of our instincts are still ancient. So, for millennia, a woman's well being and that of her potential children could depend heavily on her choice of partner, which is why I keep telling you, ladies, that y'all got to make better choices. She needs someone who was not only a provider and protector, but also emotionally stable, a rock she could count on when things got chaotic, even if she's the one that caused the chaos. And an emotionally reactive man, someone who panics or gets angry under pressure, would have been a liability for her. And in a modern context, this can even manifest as a kind of role reversal guilt, where you might be shamed directly or subtly for expressing traditionally masculine traits like ambition or competitiveness because it challenges her sense of control. And that's not something that you want to be in. Michael says best relationships are based on emotional security, mutual respect, open communication, shared values, and trust. Exactly what we've talked about on the show plenty of times before. But in order for you to have emotional security, you have to have a safe zone for emotional expression. If you do not have a safe zone for emotional expression, where when you express your thoughts and your feelings and your ambitions, that you are shamed or dismissed or devalued for having those thoughts, those opinions, and that behavior, then you're going to be in a position where it isn't going to work out for you. You're going to stop sharing. You're going to stop expressing yourself. Mutual respect is equally important, but a lot of times you're in a relationship where you're not being outright disrespected, but you're not being acknowledged respectfully, and that could be another issue. Most relationships in the United States do not have open communication because emotional security and mutual respect is not observed by both parties respectfully, where one person might feel less valuable in a relationship than the other. That causes that person to shut down. One person might feel like secrets are being kept, and it'll cause that person to shut down, and it'll just continue to destroy the trust. Where the only thing they have left in the relationship that they actually rock on is the shared values. And the shared values are basically the shared goal of making sure that they don't lose the house and all the stuff that they put in the house. And that's where we are in Western culture. Michael said, "Good night, my children. Remember to like and subscribe. God's out." Look, when the Lord walk out of the building, Xander preaching the gospel, and the Lord walk out of the building, you already know it's about to go left. It's about to go left. So we're gonna see where we stand, but it's about to go left. Now, when she's testing you, you could say she's subconsciously probing the strength of your frame. She might be looking for reliability, confidence, and character. Is he consistent? Can he handle pressure? Does he respect himself? Does he have a backbone? Or will he fold at the first sign of a challenge? Many guys think that being super agreeable and aligning with everything a woman says is the key. That is what women teach their children, but the boys are not going to be successful always agreeing with the women. And y'all ladies can say that's not what y'all say, but that's what y'all do. The women is always right, right? Y'all always say that women are always right. But when a woman says that she's always right, and I'm supposed to agree with you, the moment you admit that you're wrong, then I'm supposed to agree that that is correct. um, the understanding is though is that if the woman is always right and the man is always wrong, then that means that the man must always agree with the woman. And if the man is always agreeing with the woman, then the woman is not going to value that man because he does not have a backbone to disagree with her when he knows that she's wrong and she knows that she's wrong. Sometimes they're deliberately wrong just to see if he will say something about it because you got to see what kind of man you got. Sometimes you call your lawyer about some bullshit just to see if they'll represent you on that shit, right? Women do not want a yes man. She isn't looking for that. She's looking for a man with his own perspective and an unshakable sense of self. A man that's willing to stand on no means no, not no means maybe I'll do it later. It's no. Now, this is crucial to understand because this isn't about learning to adapt to her every whim. It's about seeing these moments as a chance to show who you truly are. Passing these tests isn't about memorizing clever lines. It's about genuinely building that inner strength, that solid frame, so that you pass naturally without even thinking about it. When you embody this strength, you're not just passing the test, you're showing that you're the secure, high value man she's instinctively hoping to find. All right, now let's get practical. Here are some of those subtle, often invisible dynamics that you're probably facing. For each one, we'll look at a situation and a solution that's always rooted in maintaining that solid centered frame. Test number one, the vague text, inconsistent communication test. The situation, a classic of modern dating, it's the low effort hey text, conversations that feel like interrogations, or when her silence is weaponized to make you anxious. She's gone from warm and engaged to distinct and cold. This is breadcrumbs leading you to a minimal effort scenario. She is utilizing minimal effort. The hidden question here is how much of my time and energy can she get for the lowest possible investment? Will you scramble to entertain her? Will you get anxious and double text? This mistake is switching into performance mode, which screams neediness and tells her your mood depends on her responsiveness. The solution, purpose driven, non reactive responses. Your goal isn't to ignore her, but to respond in a way that shows you have a full, valuable life. Match her energy or use it to lead instead of to follow. To a hey text, try something playful like hey yourself or hey to you too. Causing trouble, I presume, right? If you said hey yourself, causing trouble, I presume, that's the response to her one word hey. Now she's got to answer your question. Or even better, show you're busy. Can't talk now, wrestling a bear. What's up? And that's actually a very entertaining scenario because that takes us back to that uh, trend where women are choosing a bear over a man because they feel more safe and secure in the hands of a bear that will naturally, instinctively maul her to death, whereas a man would lose his life to prevent that from happening. They choose the bear. It really shows how emotionally unstable and traumatized that some of these people are when they participate in that questionnaire. But the fact is that if you respond it wittingly with "can't talk now, wrestling a bear, what's up," she can get a little giggle out of that and then be genuinely responsive to you. The best move is to cut through the noise and make a real plan. Good to hear from you. I'm not a big texter. Let me know when you're free to get together for real. This sets a boundary, shows your intent, and forces her to either invest or move on. Test number two is that last minute cancellation. It's a flaky test. We've had a lot of guys come onto the show over the past 3 months that have talked about trying to set up dates from online dating platforms getting stood up at the last minute. She literally reschedules the date and then cancels again. I have said in these situations that if she canceled the first time, that you put the ball in her court to reschedule, to make it up to you for canceling. Even if she cancels the second time, if you invested in a reservation the first time and she invested in the reservation the second time, doesn't matter if she canceled because she's now taking a loss. You're not taking a loss. Your hopes might have been raised, but you're not taking a financial loss based on her canceling. But if you've had a date planned for days, an hour before you get the text, so sorry something came up. Repeated cancellations are a major red flag. It's a test of your boundaries and how you react to being dismissed. The hidden question here: how much does he value his own time? It has nothing to do with how much you value her. How much do you, as a man, value your own time? How will he react when things don't go his way? Getting angry shows she has power over your mood, but being dormant is just as bad. In immediate, no problem. What about tomorrow? Tells her your time isn't valuable. The solution to this scenario is the cool and detached frame. Shows zero negative emotion while also showing that your world doesn't stop for her. The perfect response is short. No problem. Hopefully everything is okay. And then, this is the crucial and most important part, you give her space. You do not suggest another time. You put the ball 100% in her court. You are sending a few powerful messages. You're not emotionally affected. Your time is valuable and you have options. If she's genuinely interested, she will reach out to reschedule. So don't put time into trying to get her to come back and meet you the second time. Just like I told you guys before, I said if she cancels on you, you had the reservation, make it her responsibility to reschedule the appointment, to reschedule the date and reserve it because not only is your time valuable, so are your resources. Test number three is those playful jabs and sarcasm tests. I hate sarcasm tests. Because while I understand that once we've gotten to know each other better and we've been in a relationship for a few years, we may throw zingers back and forth and be subtly sarcastic with one another in a playful manner. But those short jabs sometimes build into resentment and animosity, and it is not favorable for your relationship. So if she hits you with a playful jab that has a sharp edge, oh, you're a software engineer. So you're like a professional nerd. If it becomes a pattern of regular criticism targeting your character, it's a test. She's probing your frame. Is he really confident or is it just an act? Most guys fail by getting defensive or by shutting down, which shows you're easily rattled. The solution here is the agree and amplify technique. Playful exaggerating the jab to show supreme confidence. Her, oh, you're a software engineer, so you're a professional nerd. Your response with a smirk, the absolute nerdiest. My social life is run by an algorithm. You're lucky to have booked this time slot. See what I'm saying? It puts her in a position to be like, oh shit, this flips the script. You take that frame she tried to put on you and absorb it into your own more powerful frame where you're a confident guy who doesn't take himself too seriously. Test number four is going to be the jealousy third party shame test, which happens so much in relationships. You can't have a friend from the opposite sex without her devaluing you as a man for having that friend, and then shaming you as a man if she has a friend of the opposite sex that she doesn't want you to tell her anything about. Double standard. You got to understand, it's a test. You got a situation like this. She casually mentions another guy, an ex, a coworker, or even compares you unfavorably to friends, partners, or media figures. This is a third party shame, suggesting you aren't measuring up. She might be gauging how confident you are, right? Is he possessive or insecure? The fail here is to react with obvious jealousy. Getting tense or firing off questions shows that the mere thought of another man shatters your confidence. The solution here is the uninterested high status. Response is going to be complete and non reactive. Your verbal response should be minimal and dismissive, immediately changing the subject back to the two of you. So if she gives you something like, my ex texted me this morning saying he missed me, right? Why the fuck does she have him still as a contact on her phone and not blocked? While that's a red flag in and of itself, your response with a calm and slightly bored look, that's nice. Anyway, I was thinking we should check out that new Italian place Friday. The subtext is powerful. It's very powerful. I am not threatened. I am not competing. My place in your life is determined by me, not by other guys. Now, she starts talking about, well, I was planning on going to meet up with my ex. I mean, sure. Some guys are going to be like, nope, that's a red flag. That's a red flag. It is a red flag. It is a red flag. But if you got into a relationship with a woman that is best friends with her ex, you fucked up. Now you got to navigate through that shit. You should be able to set a perspective that you are not tolerating past relationships being maintained while she's in a current relationship with you. But you only set that standard exclusively separate from when she brings up the ex. It should not be a retaliation to her bringing up the ex. Now, look, if any of these situations are hitting home, it's because they reveal a deeper pattern. Understanding what is happening is one thing, but mastering the how, the internal mindset of that strong masculine frame is a different game altogether. And that's why I put together all of this information in what I call the unshakable frame. And this is going to break down the core principles of building the inner strength. It's going deeper than just passing tests. It's about becoming the man whose value is so obvious he doesn't get tested in the first place. So I want you guys to pay attention to this because if you come to understand this, you will always give off a more subtle frame of confidence, which will allow you to be thrown into fewer tests. Test number 5, the let's just be friends reluctant test. I hate that test. And most guys don't like that test. And women like to call guys incels when guys complain about that test. But some guys really throw themselves into that and fail it. Things seem to be going well with you. Then she hits you with, I think we should be friends. This feels like rejection, but it's also a test of your intent and backbone. I had a buddy of mine that was in this once before this time last year, and the chick said, "Let's just be friends." And for some reason, he agreed that he didn't think that he was valuable enough to be a boyfriend. He had too much stuff going on. She challenged that, like, you're just gonna give up like that? He had nothing for it. I was sitting over there looking like, bro, what do you mean? She was giving you the opportunity to be the boyfriend. You surrendered without a fight. Like, what the fuck? But this is what happens. There's a hidden question here. Are you so desperate for my approval that you'll accept any scraps of attention? The most common failure is accepting the friendship, thinking you can change her mind. Once you accept that friendship, that's just done. This puts you in the friend zone and communicates that your desires are unimportant, which ultimately means that you're putting yourself in a position where you can be used. Whether that was her intention in the beginning or not is irrelevant. The fact that you're allowing yourself to be put into that position is unacceptable. The solution to this is simple: the respectful but firm disagreement. State your intentions clearly and be willing to walk away if they don't align. Her, I think we should just be friends, should be followed with your calm and warm tone. I appreciate you telling me that. And while I do enjoy your company, to be honest, friendship isn't what I'm looking for with you. I respect your decision, but if you ever change your mind, you know where to find me. Then you walk away. This response shows integrity, self respect, and confidence. Your willingness to walk away is often the very thing that makes her not want you to go. And you've seen this on social media a lot, is that when a man approaches a girl and she's trying to reject him, the longer he stays there trying to combat that rejection, the harder she pushes him away. The initial approach of the guy is met with unfavorable response, and then he immediately dismisses her and walks off. She will chase him because she did not want him to go in the first place. Some people say that women like rejection, and some people say that women like to be mistreated. So they would prefer to chase a guy that's mistreating her than to chase a guy that values her. I don't believe that that's the case. I actually believe that if you're not emotionally desperate, you're showing a lack of confidence and security that she's looking for. So she will reject you to see how desperate you are. She will see exactly how much effort you're willing to put into her and what lengths you're willing to go to put uh, her first, which also puts you in a position where we're going to be talking about this later on in the show, whether or not she can decide on if you're a good asset or if she can use you. Now, test number 6 is the you pay for everything provider test. I don't like this one either. Not because I don't like spending, but because you can't tell if she's there for you or your resources if you're always spending to satisfy her desires, not her needs, her desires. In this situation, it's common for the man to pay early on, but it becomes an expectation. Some women offer with no intention to follow through. Some women never offer to pay. They never suggest to split the bill. And they don't even say thank you a lot of the times. There's a lack of appreciation. And the dynamic is going to be tested here is that is he a partner or just a resource to be used, as I just finished mentioning. Failing this means continuing to pay without question, teaching her the dynamic is transactional, which kills attraction. The solution is the reciprocity check. This isn't about being stingy, it's about creating opportunities for her to invest too. So after you've paid for the first couple of dates, and I've told you about this before, when you're in line for coffee, you can turn to her with a smile and say, "You got this one," right? Or when the bill arrives, just let it sit for a moment and see if she makes a move. A woman who is genuinely interested will be happy to reciprocate. So if she gets defensive, she might see you as a provider, not a partner, right? And the difference between a provider and a partner is like the you see them on social media right now. You see those guys that take a girl out on a date, and sometimes she brings her friend. They eat a bunch of stuff. They enjoy the evening together. The check comes. He splits the check where he's paying for himself, and the she pays for her and her friend, and the girl is complaining. You have some where it's just the two of them, and he asks if she's gonna do whatever with him after the fact, and she says no, and then he splits the check. You have some that doesn't ask any questions; they just leave the check for her to pay, and in all situations, the woman complains about having to pay. If a woman offers to pay for the check, let her. For those women who are bluffing and they offer to pay just to be uh, courteous with no intent of paying, they will offer to pay knowing that you're going to stop them from paying. Don't be that guy because you are still setting the dynamic that you will always pay. If she offers to pay, you let her pay. If she offers to split the check, you split the check. I've told you guys, special shout out to Nona. Uh, I've told you guys plenty of times before, if you're in a committed, not before you even get to the commitment, the first handful of dates, you're supposed to be trying to do like really cheap and really free dates because you're trying to get to know each other. You're not trying to impress each other. You're not trying to go bankrupt trying to live the first 7 days or 7 dates in like this bliss of expensiveness. You should like the first 2 or 3 dates should be like a cup of coffee, a drive through, or something like that, under $10 a person, you know. And then once you get to know them, then you start talking about $50 a plate. You should be taking them places that's quiet, where you guys can communicate and get to know each other, get to understand each other's trains of thought before you start getting into adventures together where you're not learning about each other, you're just enjoying the activity together. Because if you're watching a movie, you're sitting in the same place at the same time for an hour, not learning anything about each other, which you could have done at the house watching TV. If you're at a concert, you're not learning anything about each other. You're just enjoying the music, which y'all could have done in a car. So, you want to get to know each other. Now, what I've said in the past is this: if y'all are in an egalitarian style relationship or a traditional relationship where she values you enough to show you her worth before she makes you pay for everything, y'all should each do one paid date and then one free date. And how that would work is one of you would pay, whether he pays first or she pays first. The second date is free, or start off with the first date is free, cup of coffee at Starbucks or something like that. Then he pays for the second date, she pays for the third date, the fourth date is free. Out of 4 dates, each person only paid one time. You're saving money, you're spending more time together, You're showing more value towards one another. If the guy pays for all 4 dates, he can't tell if he's got a gold digger or if she's genuinely invested in him. If the girl pays all 4 times, she can't tell if he's broke or if he's testing her to see if she's really going to contribute to the situation. But both people show a level of responsibility by only investing in one out of 4 dates. Now, that means that out of 8 dates, you would have paid twice. And if you go on 2 dates a week, you would have been on 8 dates in a month and you would have spent money once every other week, which is more fiscally responsible for both parties. That is a whole lot better than every time we go somewhere, we have to spend money, or every time we go somewhere, the man has to spend money. Think about this. Test number 7, the disagreement challenging test. And this one happens a lot deeper into the relationship when you're dating a woman that is controlling the dynamic of the relationship. If you state an opinion as a man, she immediately challenges that. The topic is rarely the point. The dynamic is this test your conviction. So the questions are, does he have his own mind or will he just fold to please me? Can he handle a difference of opinion uh, without getting angry or expressly apologizing to keep the peace? Men fail by immediately backpedaling or getting into a heated argument. Both directions are wrong. The solution here is to hold your ground with humor. So stand by your opinion respectfully without getting argumentative. If she gives you I can't believe you like that movie, it was awful, you have to try to put a smile on your face and, you know, put up a little bit of a laugh, right? And then respond to her with, I guess that just means I have superior taste. It's okay. I still like you anyway. So if she's devaluing your taste in a movie, you're showing her that she's wrong because her taste hasn't evolved to your level. But you're not insulting her and you're not changing your position on whether or not that movie was good. You're communicating that I have my own mind and my sense of self isn't threatened by our differences. The next test is going to be the downplaying your success test. And this happens a lot in okay relationships. In this situation, you hesitate to share personal success because you sense it makes you or your date uncomfortable. And their response to your success is going to be followed with sarcasm or indifference. This is a subtle test of how you value your own achievements. Will you shrink yourself to make her comfortable? I would not. Make sure you guys like and subscribe as you come through. The solution here is own your success humbly. Share your accomplishments with quiet confidence, not arrogance. If she responds with indifference or a job, see it for what it is, a probe of your frame. You can simply smile and say, I'm really proud of it, and change the subject. You don't need her validation, and you show that her reaction doesn't diminish your sense of accomplishment. The next test that we have, we got a couple tests left, the you don't lead test. And this is where the women completely dominate relationships. And when they dominate the relationship, they lose interest in the relationship because her goal was not to dominate the relationship. Her goal was to test the authority. In this situation, all plans and decisions are dictated by your partner, even in areas that you care about. You are not allowed to lead. If you suggest a place to eat, it's dismissed. If you plan a date, she changes every detail. She tests you whether you have confidence to take charge. So the solution here is leading with gentle confidence. Don't become a dictator, but don't be a follower either. When making plans, be decisive. I know a great spot for Friday night. Be ready at 8. If she resists, it's not a fight, it's a data point. A partner wants someone who can take the lead, not someone who needs to be managed. I would go even further with this because we've had this conversation where we're riding in the car and we ask her what does she want, and she will say, I don't know, pick something. And then everything you pick, she devalues. This pisses you off, and then you're like, then either you say don't eat or you yell pick something. You say I'm hungry. If you ask her if she's hungry and she says yes, then you say, I know a good place that we can go eat. You take her to the place. She might ask you where we're going, and you can tell her she's gonna shut it down, but you're going there anyway. And then when you get there, she can either order or not. If you know her well enough, you know the kind of things that she likes. You shouldn't probe it out of her by asking her on a regular basis what's her favorite foods. But when she's hungry in the first 2 months of your relationship, you typically ask her what does she want? Where would she like to eat? What would she like to do for fun? These are things that guys commonly ask girls. Since you've asked the question, if she hasn't already told you in a general conversation, when you ask the question, she tells you the kind of foods that she likes and where she likes to get that food from. If you've got a girlfriend that likes the Chick-fil-A fries, you know what she wants. So when she might be hungry, you don't have to ask her what she wants. You look at her and you say, well, I'm hungry. So I assume you're hungry. So I'm going to go get something to eat. First place you're going to go is where you want to get something to eat. Before the ladies get pissed off, they're going to say, oh, that's selfish and that's inconsiderate. But wait, I don't want your food to get cold. I'm going to go to the place where I want food first. I'm going to let my food sit in the car and get cold, take you to your place and get your favorite food next, and then we'll eat together because I already know that you don't eat where I eat. But that is me taking, I'm not going to ask you what you want. I'm taking the initiative. I'm getting what I want. Now, if you want something from where I'm ordering from, then I will get you what you ask for, which prevents me from having to go somewhere else. But if you don't order from where I go, then I will then go to where you get your food from and order what I know that you want. And then we go sit somewhere and eat. This shows her that you can take the initiative. Plain and simple. Now, the next test, test number 10, is the social invisibility test. And this one's going to be tough for these Gen Zs. In this situation, you're introduced awkwardly to her friends or family, typically in an unexpected situation. Your presence is glossed over. They might see you and completely ignore you and start talking to everybody else. She might say, this is my friend, or she might introduce you by name with no context. leaving you to fend for yourself. She might not even identify you as the boyfriend or whatever. She's testing your social confidence and gauging how you'll react to being put in a low status position. Now, this one is pretty crazy. The solution to it is you want to create your own status. Don't wait for her to validate you. When you're introduced, vaguely step forward, smile, shake hands, and introduce yourself by name. And then just say, "It's great to finally meet you." Mention that she told you a lot about them, even if she didn't. And then you avoid the gap or the void that would have happened from the awkward moment. You have instantly filled it by demonstrating social intelligence. And you're showing that you don't depend on her to define your place. So you don't have to walk into the room. You're standing next to her. She's like, "Hey, like for example, if she was introducing me, "Hey, this is Xander," and then I walk up and I say, "Hey, it's a pleasure to meet you. She told me a lot about you." That's it. I do not have to be identified as her boyfriend. I don't have to be identified as her fiance. If they ask, I let her answer that, you know. But if they don't ask, "I'm here and it's great to meet you." That's it. Because who I am in this environment, in this engagement, in this conversation has little to do with her outside of the fact that she brought me to the engagement. It's crucial to know when these tests cross the line into a genuinely toxic dynamic. But when they're playing off of the regular tunes of subconscious testing, you have to know how to navigate them. But if you find yourself constantly drained, resentful, or unhappy after interactions, you're not being tested, you're being controlled. So I want to give you guys some signs. The standard ones include arguments that escalate frequently and remain unresolved, where you guys argued over absolutely nothing, or you argued over something, but so much stuff was argued about to the fact that nothing happened from that argument. Um, there's name calling and emotional withdrawal or stonewalling. Affection might be withheld as punishment, given, or withdrawn conditionally based on your compliance to their expectations. You want to shut that down. There are also unorthodox signs that you need to watch for. A conflict hangover, where you feel emotionally depleted for days after a fight. You may notice disproportionate reactions where a minor issue sparks an out of scale fight. Jokes start to have a sharp, critical edge designed to erode your self esteem. You might notice surveillance like behavior, an obsession with your whereabouts that signals deep trust issues. In these cycles, major arguments are just reset after cooling off, only to happen again because conflict is never truly resolved. You may feel like you're the parent managing everything while your partner stays passive. A lot of times you're in a situation where you guys argue unnecessarily at their rebellion to your leadership. They're not supposed to be. I've said this plenty of times. King Arthur never had an uprising in his kingdom. And we should not have, as the king of our castle, we should not have an uprising in our kingdom. Above all, you have to trust your gut. If you experience chronic dread or anxiety around your partner, even when things seem calm, That is a major red flag. We talked about this last week. When you're in an okay relationship or a good relationship, when you're following the motto of happy wife, happy life, when she's not happy, she makes sure that you're not happy. But when she's happy, at least you're not in chaos. But that doesn't mean that you're ever happy. It just means that you're content with the lack of chaos right now, but you know that chaos is coming. You have to recognize that these toxic patterns exists, but you want to try and fix the relationship. The approach has to change. It's no longer about passing tests, it's about actively building a healthier way to relate. First, identifying the root causes. Ask why these conflicts arise. Often it's about unmet needs or past hurts. Then focus on communication. Use the I statements like I feel hurt when instead of blaming them. Listen to understand, not just to respond. We talk about this all the time. Try to practice empathy and see things from your partner's perspective before you react. Understand, first and foremost, you cannot find fault in someone else that you do not have in yourself. Age old Bible verses that talk about not throwing rocks in a glass house. He who has not yet committed sin, please cast the first stone. All of these things suggest the fact that you have, in fact, fucked up in your past. And that is why you are able to identify this behavior you're complaining about as fucked up because you've done it before and it's been done to you before. That's why you can identify it. You guys want to set ground rules together, like agreeing not to argue when tired or angry, and taking breaks when things get heated. And when you're taking a break, you're taking a break from the discussion, from the debate, from the argument. You're not taking a break from the relationship where you can go sleep with somebody else and come back with a clear conscience. That's not healthy. Actually, that's more toxic than anything because some people, men and women alike, will cause a conflict in the relationship so that you can take a relationship break and then go and have an affair with the person that you wanted to sleep with. And the excuse is we were broken up at the time. But if you deliberately caused the breakup, you basically cheated on your partner and destroyed your relationship at the same time. And then you did the push pull method and got back with that partner because that was your emotional safety net after the affair. Take it a step further. Try some new strategies. Agree on a secret signal, a nonverbal cue to pause arguments before it escalates. Ritualize repair. After a conflict, engage in a shared activity like a walk or cooking together to physically signal reconnection. You can even try journaling your feelings after a fight and exchanging notes before talking, which helps define thoughts without escalation. Matter of fact, I've said this before in the past. We've got technology. It makes a lot of sense for you to sit there and write down everything that you want to say and then hand that note to your partner so that they can read your raw feelings. But we've also got technology. Gen Zs, send an email to your partner. Y'all get pissed off, take 10 minutes, write your thoughts and feelings to your partner. Do not read their response until until you have sent your concerns. So you got two conversations going. Your complaint to them, their complaint to you. When you respond, you're going to be responding to their complaint when they respond to your complaint. And you guys can actually work out the issues a whole lot better. Uh, you still live, my new friend. You still live, my new friend. Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm up. Yeah, I typically usually we run. Make sure that you like and subscribe. We typically run 2 hours, 2.5 hours most of the time. I think looking at the script here, I think I've got probably another 30 minutes worth of information to share. Uh, but yeah, we typically do about 2 hours, 2.5 hours because we started about 11:35 Eastern Standard Time, and we kind of wrap things up between 2 and 2:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. And so we got about 15 minutes to two right now. So we're probably 2:15, 2:30, something like that. But yeah, we're here every night of the week. And like I told you, what happens on YouTube is that you scroll through the shorts reel and you end up back on my channel again. You could have been here for the last hour, learning a bunch of stuff, commenting, holding a vast conversation of knowledge. This is an educational podcast, and since I'm not a hot chick with my cleavage hanging out, very few people are going to hang out here unless they're learning something that they really didn't know that they needed to learn, or something that they really wanted to learn about. Maybe if I had a co-host that was a hot chick, I probably would have a whole lot more fans on the show. But I'll deal with that down the line. You said, do you have any info on how to stop hating humanity? Well, yes. First and foremost, your question is, well, you're talking about hating humanity. And when you talk about humanity, that's like every human being with a pulse. So I appreciate your subscription. Every human being with a pulse. When you start talking about the human beings in your area, your society, your country is based off of the people that are in your country. The society is based off of the people that are in your neighborhood, the people around you that are not you, that make decisions that you don't agree with. Your question is, how do you stop hating their decision making process that conflicts with your personal agenda and your expectations? And the main priority is that you shouldn't give a shit about their decision making process unless it directly impacts your ability to accomplish your goals. Your hatred should not be there, because if you're focusing on yourself and your own self success, there shouldn't be time to hate anybody else. Because what are you hating humanity for? What are they doing to you? You don't have an assigned parking space at the grocery store that they're taking. You don't have an assigned parking space at your apartment complex that they're taking. If you own your own house, you definitely don't have an assigned parking space that somebody else is taking. They're not in your house taking things from you. They're not on your job taking your hours. Your hours are assigned to you based on your productivity. So if somebody else is getting more hours on your shift than you, that's because you're not working as hard. You're not. There's too much money to make for someone to take your check. If you're not putting in enough hours, you're not going to earn a raise. If you're not putting in enough effort, you're not going to earn the hours. If you're not dedicated to the cause like someone else is dedicated to the cause, then but you're not competing with them. If you want a promotion, you find out what the promotion requires, and then you put in the effort to qualify for it. Only one of you is going to get it. But if they get it, you're not doing the management job or promotional job description, because that's not what you're getting paid to do. You make it a requirement that your superior promotes you as co-leadership to have co-leadership responsibilities. And you make sure that you negotiate the pay raise that goes with it. Otherwise, you will not perform co-management requirements. You will let the ship sink before you plug in known holes, because that company is not going to go it's not going to go under if you don't perform. But at the same time, if you spend more time focusing on your wealth, building your own assets so that you don't have to work for somebody else, you don't have to be pissed off at the people around you, because you would get paid to stay at your house. Then when you leave your house, you're leaving your house because you're tired of staying at your house. Then the people that you interact with, you're glad to interact with people because you normally don't interact with anybody because you never leave the house. And people are glad to see you because guess what? You ain't got nowhere to go. You ain't got nothing to do. You got all the time in the world. So now you're not pissed off at life. Then you actually find yourself as more of a social butterfly. He says, that makes sense. I am a fat loser. I should just focus on myself. Okay. Well, there you have it. If you believe that you are overweight instead of hating society, then you can put more effort into going to the gym. You can make a bunch of gym friends because if they see you struggling to lose that weight, you will find 5 or 7 people at your gym that will get with you and help you. Free trainers, matter of fact, that will help you with different training regimens so that you can be more effective with the weights, be more effective with your form, and work in with a lot of individuals. And you'll have a whole network of folks. And if you're going to the gym 7 days a week, 2 hours a day, I would say 1 hour a day, but technically, if you're working in with somebody else, you're taking a lot more breaks, especially if you got 2 or 3 guys that you're working in with. So you might be there for 2 hours just to get a 1 hour set in. But the fact is that if 2 hours a day, 7 days a week, now you've got friends that are helping you improve your health. And that's still valuable. Some of them will give you dieting tips. You can use the Fit Chef links that we have on the channel that can help you with a better diet so that you can eat healthier foods, increase your protein intake. You can find friends that you can run with. You can find friends that you can find friends that you can run with. You can find friends that you can go biking with, and this will all help you become a whole lot better than what you were. And here we go. We have a bitter person jumping onto the disabled veteran, jumping on the show. And I appreciate the veterans diving in. But bro, if uh if Marshall is concerned about his ability to socialize, just because you don't care doesn't mean I don't care. So when you say no one cares, that's not a factual statement. You personally don't care. But if he has a concern about how does he improve himself, I care about that. Okay. And one of the first things that you have to do is first person accountability is the things that matter to you most you want to put extra effort in. If there's anything in your life that you wish that could change, things that are you have to find out if it's inside of your control because being a disabled veteran, you can't get your legs back if they were blown off in the war. But you can find more self-sufficiency by adapting to your disability to the best of your ability. You can be bitter about life because when you came back from the war, Americans don't value you as much as they value athletes that are getting paid millions of dollars to drop a football. But that doesn't change the fact that you're still alive to go and watch that game. So, because you're still alive, you should care about the other people that don't value themselves because that's what you, as a veteran, went to war for. The people that are here to be free, to have the ability to have happy lives, to have the ability to be successful and self sustainable. And self sustainability isn't just about being in a workplace, self sustainability is also about having the emotional stability to function every day. As an ex soldier, you put your life on the line so that you ideally would protect the people here or in whatever country that you are trying to protect. And that includes their physical and emotional and mental states. So, as a veteran, you should care because as a veteran, people care about you, whether you know it or not. In most veterans programs, there are a lot of volunteers. There are a lot of employees who specifically applied to work with former troops to help those troops and reincorporate themselves into society, to help those troops with whatever illnesses that they've come down with after serving, to help those troops maintain stability in their lives, to give those troops purpose. And the same way, people care about you specifically because you're a veteran. You should care about people because without people like Marshall, there would not be a veterans program for you to benefit from. So you got to value people like Marshall, no matter how big or how small, no matter how emotionally damaged they are. You have to value those people. You got to think about this real quick, veteran. Mom used to always tell me, be careful how you treat people because you never know who's going to be there to bring you your last glass of water. It's a very good metaphor. Basically, if you disrespect everybody when you're in trouble, the one person that might help you might be the person you treated the worst. So be careful how you treat people. Be careful how you address people because you never know when the next person that comes to help you turns out to be the person that you helped before. Moving on. When we're dealing with these toxic relationships and toxic engagements like the one we just had with veteran, the goal is to focus on solutions over blame. And if you can't do it alone, seeking a therapist can provide you the tools to break through these ingrained patterns. So, since I've just given you a playbook for dozens of scenarios, I want you guys to recognize that there is an ultimate secret here that you cannot win by trying to win. If you're stuck in your own head thinking, okay, that was a job, now I need to agree and amplify, you're still reacting. The real work isn't memorizing responses, it's becoming the kind of man who responds this way naturally. The goal is to develop such a strong sense of self respect that these tests become irrelevant. This is also how you establish a higher level of emotional intelligence. This outcome is going to give you a higher level of self sufficiency. Your happiness and your self worth are not dependent on the outcome of any single interaction. So she agrees to a date, that's great. She cancels, also great. Now you have free time. If you wanted to go somewhere, fellas, take this and run with it. If you want to go somewhere, you are not inviting her on an excursion of any kind that you would not have gone to by yourself, which ultimately means that you would be planning an engagement. You would notify her that this is where you're planning on going. Ask her if she would like to accompany you. And then when she says no, like I told you earlier in the show, you say, that's fine. Enjoy your week or whatever. Go to the event anyway. The next time she contacts you, she's going to ask you, how has your week been? Then you would respond appropriately with the fantastic time you had at the event you invited her to, and then ask her how her week was, which lets her know that she is not the reason why you do the things that you do. You're going to do what you're going to do, and she's either going to do it with you or she's not. But to get there, you must regain your confidence and control over yourself, not her. First, you got to set these clear, non negotiable expectations for behavior and establish time expectations. You're going to communicate what you're comfortable with and refuse to wait endlessly for a response. Second, know your worth. Reflect on your strengths and values. Don't base your confidence on relationship outcomes. Third, you got to be assertive. Express your needs openly. If you sense mind games, gently but explicitly address it. Tell them something like, I'm noticing mixed signals. Let's clarify our intentions. This is the deeper game. It's not about learning how to attract women, it's about becoming an attractive man. Reinvest in your passions. Go on solo adventures. Spend time in hobbies that celebrate you. Mentor or volunteer. Leading in non romantic contexts rebuilds purpose. Regularly ask yourself, am I acting out of self respect or insecurity? And adjust your course. When you build a life that you love living, you'll find that the right people will want to be a part of it. That's the ultimate cheat code. So let's bring it all home. Those vague texts, last minute cancellations, and playful jabs. They often aren't random. They can be subconscious probes into your frame. And sometimes they can be red flags for a deeper pattern of disrespect or toxic control. But now you see the dynamic. The solution isn't to learn better tactics or become some bitter player. The solution is to stop playing her game and start building your own. So, at its core, all of this comes down to self respect. When you truly value yourself, your time, and your purpose, you naturally embody the qualities of a strong, centered man. So you become non reactive, not as a strategy, but because your emotional state is solid. You hold your ground not to impress her, but because you have real conviction. You're willing to walk away not as a threat, but because you know your own worth and refuse to settle for less. Because as I talked to you guys about last week, settling is more costly than walking away. That is the real power. It's not about controlling anyone else, it's about mastering yourself. When you respect yourself, she will feel it and respond. And if she doesn't, you'll have the strength to walk away without a second thought, knowing that you're holding out for what you truly deserve. That's the unshakable frame. Now, if this video opened your eyes, make sure that you guys take time to hit that subscribe button, like today's show, and keep mashing those reaction buttons. I want you guys to be sure to check out tomorrow's show because we're going to be giving you 10 signs that it's not love, it's disrespect. So to continue building on your foundation, you want to make sure that you bring yourself back over here tomorrow because we've got a lot more information that you guys can benefit from. For those of you that are watching us on Twitch as well as Twitter X, you need to follow the channel on Twitter X, but you can also like and subscribe on YouTube. When we start talking about business and finance, any uh, shares or stocks that we talk about, we put those stocks in the comment section, which allows you to pick that up in live replay for the post live show. So if you missed it when I was first talking to you about it, where you were just hanging out and watching the show, You can go back and rewatch the show on YouTube and just write down all the information that I put in the comment section because it replays in real time. And that gives you the ability to have the information to utilize at a later date and time where you can then compare the updated information to the facts that I gave you in the show. With that being said, that's all I've got for you guys for tonight. Ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, we're back to about 70% male podcast from the male's perspective. I remind y'all that we do not let the sun rise without going live, and we are live 7 nights a week. I do this for you guys to help the fellas become higher value men, not only by having more finances accessible to yourself, but I also do this so that you guys can have a higher level of self. Because when you value yourself as a higher value man, it's easier for you to be valued by others as a higher value man. Likewise, by making better decisions, you are able to find yourself with a higher value woman. Now, this information is not exclusive to the men. Ladies, y'all can take this information and utilize it to become higher valued women. The information that I give you financially and the information that I give you about personal improvement, you can utilize this to make yourself better and improve your decision making as well. Because since historically men parade themselves around to be selected by the woman, first contact starts from the man, but first acceptance starts from the woman. Ladies, y'all have an inherent responsibility to pick the right partner for yourself. And a lot of the information that I gave you today will help you with making that decision. With that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to This and That, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.
Chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command.